I'm one of those people that's always very interested in learning more. I don't think we can, as human beings, ever reach a point where we've learned everything we possibly can. I've had some fantastic learning experiences in my life before. I'm an ex-military officer. I've done a variety of other things in between then and now. And this one was something within an area that I really wanted to learn much more about in terms of the small and medium-sized growth dynamics that our business is facing as a significant challenge at the moment. So I was very keen to get out there and just pick up as much as I possibly could to help our business go through the next few stages that we're facing at the moment. Well, actually, in a way, I was somewhat nervous that my expectations weren't going to be met fully, because there's an enormous amount of positive hype now around the whole EDP program, and you only have to go online and look at people who've put up video clips in the past. You have to just read some of the reviews that people have written, and also here within the Scottish Enterprise and Highlands and Islands setup, the pre-meetings and briefings that we had really, with also meeting folks who'd been out in the course before, really set a very high expectation. So I knew it was going to be something pretty significant, and then towards the end I started to worry that it might not be as good as they said it was, but those fears were irrelevant in the end. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, well, I think they talk about the whole fact that you will feel uncomfortable at some point. It's almost a statement rather than a possibility. You will feel uncomfortable at some point, and I felt uncomfortable pretty much from about the first 10 minutes into the course onwards, from the first full morning, that is. You have an evening event beforehand where your teams are divided, but from the first full morning of the course, within about 10 minutes, I realized that the general capability of the faculty that provide and run the course, the general capability of the other 130 people that were on the course with us was incredibly high. And I was quite uncomfortable quite early that if I opened my mouth, I would appear very much on a different, lower level to everyone else there. And that took a little while to get used to, I've got to say. And over a day or two, I found that slowly but surely I was contributing and felt okay, and it was being received okay, and that discomfort disappeared. And then after that, in terms of overall experience, it was full on. It just was information coming at you, but like trying to catch the the Niagara Falls in a bucket. It was just non-stop information and non-stop activity. If you weren't in lectures, you were working with your team on how to apply what you learnt in the lectures into the business idea that your team had been given to work on. So it was exciting. It was a bit scary occasionally, and just enthralling. And I loved every minute of it in the end. The first one was an agility, the ability to not get bogged down in too many systems, too many processes. As your business gets slightly bigger, and ours was getting beyond the 50 people mark, you bring in process, you bring in systems because you have to. And the important thing is that you minimize that as much as you can in order to have enough of that in place to do what you need to do, but to, at the same time, maintain fleet of footness and agility, and ability to move, to react, to see what was going on around you, and to apply decision-making changes in direction very, very quickly to what you're doing. It's been described, and you may have heard it from others, as the pirate spirit. That whole concept, how David took on Goliath by not putting on the armor that everyone expected him to do, by getting rid of those systems and those processes and then coming up with a new and creative way of overcoming the challenges ahead, was a huge eye-opener. I mean, it's not particularly novel or big idea, but just putting it in context was a significant thing. And I applied that within a day of arriving back, and luckily most of my team understood it straight away as well, and bought into it right from the outset. The second thing I would say is somewhat linked, and it's probably the whole idea of keeping things simple. It's far more difficult to keep things simple than it is to overcomplicate. Often you'll look at a situation and you'll develop a spreadsheet to answer a series of questions, and that spreadsheet will get bigger and bigger and bigger because you get to a point where you've probably got your answer already, but you think, oh, it'd be quite good to know this as well, and we can do that at the same time, we can add this on. And if you can get away from that concept and just keep things as simple as possible all the way through, then that makes a big difference. And I guess, yeah, and I think the third takeaway would be just the generic concept of bravery, really. Being brave enough to realize that others have had the same challenges, that others have demonstrated that by being brave, by taking a decision based on enough information without overcomplicating things and getting that decision actioned makes the biggest difference often to what you're trying to achieve. Over deliberating, over analyzing, delaying, those kinds of things can eventually come back to haunt you when you're a small business. In a bigger business, you've got room to play with. In a small business or a startup business, you don't have time to do that. And there are so many great examples on the course as the case studies are reviewed, and you look at what examples they give and what other people have done around you. And I certainly came back from EDP a lot braver and much more confident about standing up to the things that needed to be stood up to, and to just making the decisions that needed to be made and actioning them. And again, within our business, we within 2 weeks of coming back from EDP, I had reduced our business by around about a third overall. I reduced the revenue stream that was around about a third of our overall income, and we lost 13 out of just over 15 staff within 4 weeks of me returning, because it was a decision that I probably should have taken a few months before I went to EDP. It was a tough decision, and EDP just helped me to face up to that, and it gave me the conviction to do what our business needed at that point, and that would be the third big thing that really helped me.